Welcome
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I am Dorothy with AARP Alabama, and as always, I am joined by our true expert and our co-host Tarrant with Victory Teaching Farm here in Mobile. So, thank you so much for joining us again today. Sorry, I'm having some technical issues over here. Let me fix this real quick. And so today, just a reminder, we are going to be talking a lot and using a lot of slides. So what we would love for you to do is ask your questions, put some stuff in the comment section for us, and we will post all of the slides you see today in the comment section of the Facebook broadcast. So every year, it seems like there are new food fads, and the new trend is this or that, or all sorts of different stuff. I know one, and we'll actually talk about it later, is kale, for example, is a perfect example of one of those food trends. And kale's very healthy for you, and it's not bad tasting either. But it's one of those things where it does change every year. And so we are going to talk about today the 2021 healthy trends in food. And so just a reminder that, the information we're sharing today is for informational purposes only. Tarrant and I are not medical doctors or dietitians or anything like that. So be sure to consult your doctor before starting or stopping any or changing any of your diet or health or exercise programs. So just a reminder. Sorry.
I think we lost Dorothy.
Hello. I was just talking away, and apparently I hit the wrong button. Y'all, it is a Monday. Sorry for that, guys. Technical issues everywhere. So remember, we do want to hear from you in the comments, and tell us what your healthy food choices are for 2021. Maybe your healthy food resolutions are for 2021. We'd love to hear that. And so Tarrant is going to be telling us about different trends. And if you have questions or anything, just remember you can always email her, or again, put it in the comment sections. There's her email address up there. All right. So hello, Tarrant. All right. I think I'm good now. You've done some research for us these past couple of weeks, and you have found some really interesting trends, and some of them I'm really excited to talk about today. So, when working on this broadcast, I noticed a lot of the stuff that you're researching are probably trending because of our current pandemic. There are a lot of things that are really focused on healthy immune stuff and things like that. So can you tell us about that first trend, the immune boosters?
Yeah, and I think we have a slide that's going to give us some of that. Yeah. And we actually talked about these last episode because we were talking about those 3 vitamins / minerals that medical professionals and so forth are trying to are talking about at the forefront of making sure that we are positioned to fight off COVID, or do well if you happen to be exposed. And it's things that have certain vitamins and minerals that boost our immune system. And that's the 3 specific ones that have been talked about most are vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. And so these particular foods are full of those. And of course, your dark leafy greens are always full of vitamins and minerals and very good for you. Fruit, especially citrus and things like that, but also berries are full of vitamin C. Nuts, seeds, salmon, tuna, oysters was one that we talked about last time that is extremely high in zinc. And if you're not a raw oyster person, you can grill them, you can bake them, you can fire roast them. There's ways to include them into your diet if you're not necessarily big on raw. And then, of course, lean meats as always. But it's just trying to get a lot of these immune boosting foods into our diet. And I think this is kind of like what they call a food trend that is every year. It's things that boost our natural immunity in our body. So yeah, that's definitely something that everybody needs to look to include in their diet, regardless of trend or anything. Is immune boosting food. Immune boosting foods. That's really hard to say.
It really is. It's a mouthful. So that's excellent here. And you're right. We touched on that last episode too, but it's never, and that's, like you said, it's a trend, but it's a trend every year. It's just is kind of different new things that are those immune boosters. And especially now, like you said, it's the vitamin C, the D, and the zinc that are really, really, really at the forefront, especially with the research that's going behind the coronavirus and everything, and how to keep yourself healthy and during, hopefully, to prevent it, and then to help get over it too. So that's great. So this next one is really exciting because these are something that you can also grow really easily at home, and that is microgreens. Can you tell us about microgreens?
Yes. So this is actually my favorite, just because there's growing involved.
Yes.
And so it's microgreens. And so typically when we think of, or growing, we're growing off our little transplant in each individual little pot. Well, this is very compact. It's no different than starting your seedlings for your tomatoes or your peppers, but instead you're compacting lots and lots of seeds in a tiny, tiny space. And so what happens is within 7 to 10 days, once they get that second set of leaves, they are ready to harvest and eat. So, and you're just going to get your standard seeds. You might have to search a little for wheatgrass or alfalfa or anything like that, but radish seeds, pea seeds, sunflower seeds. You can even do different types of greens. And basically you're just planting those seeds very, compact and densely in a space. And once they grow enough to have those two top leaves, you can snip them off and throw them in a salad, throw them on top of, your pasta or whatever. And they are extremely high in nutrient value because they have soaked up every bit of nutrients that they possibly can to start their growth process. And they're super, super healthy. And you can throw them on top of a sandwich or, there's a million ways that you can do them. They're especially popular in fancy restaurants and as a garnish on top of things. But, as far as just every day, they're extremely healthy. Like I said, I love it because it's actually involving growing something yourself, easy to grow, quick, 7 to 10 days. You could have, a batch of them, every week and a half or so. You can also buy them in your local grocery stores. I've really only seen alfalfa and broccoli sprouts, but it's typically the same thing. So,
right. That's great. That's so interesting. And like you said, you can basically just grow them in the windowsill of your kitchen, and they're really quick. And that was a good point, is that you snip them off. I was going to ask you, you don't eat the root as well, do you? Or you just kind of snip them off at the...
Snip them off.
Perfect. Yep. Okay, excellent. So that's really, like I said, really good to know, and really easy to grow, which is really nice because right now we're probably kind of in between those planting seasons. That those winter gardens are probably getting a little long in the tooth now, and so we're gonna be gearing up for spring, but not quite yet. So this is a perfect kind of in between growing, healthy eating thing you can do at home. So that's great.
Yeah. And while you're starting your spring, which we're going to talk about that next episode,
right?
While you're starting your spring transplants, your tomatoes, your peppers, you could actually, kind of experiment with the microgreens. Grab an extra pack of seeds of whatever you'd like to have, radish, which has a little spice to it, or the sunflower, which has a little more nuttier taste to it, and just experiment and see what and plant them all at the same time, and then you'll have fresh greens as you're growing your seedlings for your spring summer garden.
That's so perfect. And I'm really excited about the sunflower seeds. I think I'm going to try that because I never knew you could do that with them. So Awesome. That's really great. So let's see. Our next one we're going to talk about, and this is again kind of like the immunity boosters. It's a trend that kind of sticks around, but it's worth mentioning because it is very good for you. So we're going to be talking about probiotics.
Yes. So, as far as, people having tummy issues and things like that, that is typically because there's not enough good bacteria. And when we hear the word bacteria, we typically think that as a bad thing. But we need good bacteria to help get rid of the bad bacteria in our body, especially in our gut. And so probiotics are one of those things. There are a live bacteria that are found in certain foods, and the first thing you think is, oh, I'm eating bacteria. This is a good one. This is a real good one. And it's typically found in cheese, yogurt, and buttermilk. And it's more so of like your cheddar cheeses and feta and things like that. But there's also a lot of yogurts and cheeses and things like that that are fortified with probiotics. And there's even probiotic specific yogurt drinks and things like that that are on the market as well. But probiotics are very important. It's very important to have those good bacteria in your body to help ward off the bad bacteria that give you those, yucky tummy aches and things like that.
Right. And that's and another good thing too is, of course, check with your doctor with this. But what I've been told with my doctor is, if you start a round of antibiotics for like a sinus infection or anything like that, my doctor always recommends eating a lot of yogurt and stuff like that, because those antibiotics will also kill off the good bacteria in your body, and it'll cause you more issues than you want. Right. So yeah, so that's really, really good information to know. And like you said, it's all about gut health. And it's really fascinating about what probiotics, and, we've heard of prebiotics, and we're about to talk about postbiotics, but it's really interesting about what they can do.
Yeah, so even beyond just improving your digestion, getting your gut healthy. Mm-hmm. Again, they also help boost your immunity, because if there's anything going on in your body, your immune system is focusing in on that. And mm-hmm. So if you've got digestion issues or gut issues, your immune system's going to kind of react to that. And you kind of want your immune system to kind of have an even playing field across your whole body, So other things that you don't think about is depression and anxiety. You wouldn't think that these things would be related to your gut health, but so many studies are more and more showing that is the case. And also clearer skin, the same thing. And we're learning more and more that our outer appearance is related to our outer health is related to our inner health.
Right.
Then also, risk of certain diseases. I mean, and anytime you're boosting your immunity, you're reducing your risks of certain diseases and ailments that
Right, and that's like, yeah, exactly. Any diseases that could start from the gut or your intestines or something. I mean, if you're taking care of that part of your body, and with the clear skin, your skin is the largest organ in your body, so anything that you put into your body is going to show on your skin. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it's just so fascinating, and that leads us to our next one, which is this is a new one for me, actually. I was really fascinated to hear about postbiotics, because you hear about prebiotics and you hear about probiotics, but postbiotics are what are those, Tarrant? Can you tell us a little bit about these?
It's essentially the same thing, but they're fermented foods. So they have the same attributes as a prebiotic or yes, the same thing, a pro. They have the same attributes and such, but it's just different foods that you wouldn't think that would contribute to your gut health. And these are things that we probably wouldn't think that would be a healthy add to our diet. Sauerkraut, Kefir, I'm not super familiar with kefir. Are you, Dorothy? Do you?
The only thing that I kind of know about it is it's kind of like a yogurty straight, from what I
Right.
understand. And so it's kind of that yogurt smoothie type thing. But I myself have never tried it.
I haven't either.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I love sauerkraut. I love kimchi. Yep. I love bread. Who doesn't?
Yes.
I'm not saying who doesn't love bread, but so sourdough bread, kimchi, and pickled vegetables. And so it is the fermentation process is what it is that is very healthy for you. And kimchi is great to add to salads. You can even put it on top of, a burger. I mean, you can use these things in so many different ways. Pickled vegetables, you can find those easily in your supermarket. And they have all kinds. So, and even pickles. Pickles are one. Anything that's fermented and in a vinegary kind of base can be considered a postbiotic. And again, a lot of products are being fortified these days with actual postbiotics. So even though it may not say that, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So again, that was something new for me to learn. So our next one, and we're getting into some of my favorite zones, but one of these this next one I also find really fascinating, and this is kind of new to me, although I've tried them before, but is alternative milks. Can you tell us a little bit about alternative milks?
Yeah. So, and actually I've tried multiple of these. And so, honestly, if you are lactose intolerant, or you are avoiding dairy for health reasons, or you are vegan, or you just don't like the taste of milk, there are a lot of alternatives out there. And so, and we use milk a lot. We use it in cooking. People use it in their coffees. Just drink it, to have a glass, we give it to our children, and so milk has always been considered, something that you need because of the calcium and the vitamin D and those things. So these alternative milks still have those levels of calcium. A lot of them have added protein, but then you don't have the dairy aspect of it. And so, and these are just a few examples. There's so many that they're actually starting to flood the market. I mean, every time I go, I see a new type. And so I've actually tried the almond milk, the cashew milk. I have tried the coconut. I have not tried oat and pea yet. But these are great alternatives because I like to try to avoid. I'm a coffee drinker in the morning. Coffee first, always.
Always, same here.
But coffee first. So, and so I try to use honey, and but I do want that creaminess to my coffee. I'm not a straight black coffee drinker. These are great alternatives to creamer, which a lot of times is loaded with sugar and all kinds of other stuff. And so honey for your sweetness, and a lot of these alternative milks have a sweetness to them. I mean, you can get flavored. Like I will buy the vanilla almond milk.
Yes, it's very good. I've had that too.
It is, and I add them to my coffee. You can cook with them. I make homemade mac and cheese for my kids, and I'll always add a little bit of milk. And you can actually, if you're vegan, you can actually still make homemade mac and cheese using one of these different milks and vegan cheese. So there's a lot of alternatives, but yeah, these are great. If you're still wanting to get that calcium, that vitamin D, and then again, like I said, they've got other benefits with added proteins and things like that. And I'm wanting to try the oat milk because that's one of the new ones that I've seen. And then I haven't seen pea milk yet.
I haven't either. I've heard of it, but I'm like you. I haven't. And I want to try the oat milk too. And what I also have noticed too is you can find a lot of these, like the almond milks and the cashew milks. They don't. Once you open them, they have to be chilled, but you can store them in the pantry. They don't have to be in the refrigerator, which is really a nice, alternative type thing. So, it's funny because we're big my husband and my boys are big cereal eaters, and so we always have a carton of vanilla almond milk in the pantry because there have been times where we've suddenly run out of milk and they're desperate for their cereal. So, we have that backup plan, which is perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see here. Our next one we're going to be talking about, and let's see. Raymond Maxwell says, real quick, I like almond milk on cereal. Yes, absolutely. It does. It adds a little something to the cereal, I think. So I agree with you. So let's see. Next, we're going to be talking about, and this is one of my favorites, is cooking oils, alternative cooking oils.
Yes. Yes. So this is something I like to talk about as well, and I love to use a lot of these different oils. In the South, I mean, frying is kind of, you're frying almost everything. You're frying food, and as we try to move away from that just a little bit, we still have our, everybody still wants some good fried chicken or things like that. Well, the part about it that's the most unhealthy is typically what kind of oil you're using. And so there's a lot of alternative oils that have added health benefits, and they're what you consider the good fats. And so we've got two different types here. So we've got for sauces like dressing and drizzling. So these aren't good for frying because they don't have a high heat capacity. So if you've ever fried anything and just happen to turn and it starts popping and smoking, that's because the tolerance of its heat capacity is very low. So these are things that you would not want to try to saute something with or fry or anything like that. But they're great for making salad dressings or drizzling over a pasta salad or something like that. Flaxseed, hemp seed. And actually, there's a local chef that uses hemp seed oil and hemp hearts, and he makes his own dressings and things like that. And I had never had it before. Fabulous. So, I mean, just the taste is just amazing. So that's something I haven't tried that yet, but it's there in your local grocery stores. There's almond oil, pumpkin seed oil, and walnut seed oil. And like I said, those are great for things that are cold salads or drizzling over something. We like to do, in my house, my kids love it, drizzle some kind of a oil and add a little balsamic vinegar and chop up some French bread, and they dip. And
I was going to say, it would be fun to do have a little thing of flaxseed, hemp seed, almond, pumpkin, and walnut, and just kind of have some bread and just kind of do a taste test of what you like. I think that would be a fun way to kind of introduce yourself to these different oils. So
that's a fantastic idea. I love that. A charcuterie board of oils.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So the high heat cooking oils. So these are the ones if you just really want some fried chicken or chicken tenders, or you're wanting to saute, vegetables real quick for a meal or whatever. These are the cooking oils that are best for that because they have a higher heat tolerance. And so sesame oil, I love sesame oil, but it is extremely strong. It has a very, very strong nutty taste. Obviously, it's really, really good. I have not used the shea butter yet, but I use avocado. I've used, of course, olive oil and coconut oil. And coconut oil, actually, the unrefined coconut oil actually has uses beyond the kitchen.
Yes, it does.
It's really good for your skin. It can be good for your hair. So it actually has a lot of uses even beyond the kitchen. Cacao butter. And then I have not used that yet. I've used cacao chips, which is kind of like cocoa, right? Yeah. So I've used those like in smoothies. The rice, I have not used that yet, but back to even just butter. So butter has gotten a bad rap over the years. I think we talked about this too. It's like, is it good for you? Is it not good for you? Is it,
Right.
Just plain old butter, and not margarine or I can't believe it's not butter or anything like that, but just good old-fashioned butter. And you can get it unsalted if you're trying to stay low on sodium. But butter is great for, cooking.
Yes.
I actually don't buy anything but real butter anymore.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. So I use that. I use olive oil.
Margarine, but
yeah. And then it's just, because real butter is just naturally made. Margarine and other products like that tend to have a lot of chemicals in them and things like that.
And they're mostly oil.
Yes.
They're mostly oils.
And so, just good old butter. I'm like you. I usually use unsalted because you can always add salt. So it's easier to add salt than take it away. So, but I'm like you. I love the avocado oil. Olive oil is my go-to for everything and anything when I need to saute or add a little bit. It's my typical go-to. And like you said, the coconut butter, it's typically solid in its original form. But I have found at the grocery store, I have found coconut oil that will stay liquid at room temperature and does not. Sometimes coconut oil can have that coconut taste, and this is pretty much tasteless. It doesn't have the aroma like a coconut or anything like that too. So it's really good. So you can find that pretty easily as well.
And avocado is the same way. A lot of times people kind of shy away from olive oil because it does have a specific taste.
Right. And I think if you
find it in your food. Avocado is one of my. I have avocado and I have olive oil.
Yeah.
So avocado is one of my favorite to my kids. I have young kids. They love chicken tenders, but I will make them at home and I'll use the avocado oil and it has no taste. At least I can't tell or they can't tell. So that's one of my favorite go-tos.
Right. Perfect. Awesome. So next up, we're going to be talking about this is probably my favorite slide, and I'll probably talk about it as much as Tarrant because I'm so excited that this is finally a trend. I finally feel like one of the popular girls now. But plant-based eating, and I say this because I'm vegetarian, and so tell us about plant-based eating, Tarrant.
Yeah, so plant-based eating is basically beyond just fruits and vegetables. It is using fruits and vegetables to make things that we typically eat on a daily basis or would like to eat, and to have them taste like them, but you're not getting what you don't want. And you're again, as it says, plant-based. So a lot of, and the first slide, I'll just go to that, vegetable subs. So if you are a pizza person, but you don't like the bread piece part of it, there are so many more alternatives now. And right there in your local grocery store, I mean, I don't know a grocery store yet that I've been in that doesn't have cauliflower pizza. And that's where the crust is made from cauliflower. And I've actually bought them, and you really cannot tell the difference of
you can't.
regular pizza at all. And that's one of my favorites. And then broccoli, zucchini, and butternut squash. You can sub those for pizza crust, rice. But my favorite is pasta. So if you love, an Italian pasta, but you don't want the pasta, squash is a perfect alternative for that.
And I'll tell you what I do real quick, jumping in. Sorry, Tarrant.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I know this is your favorite.
This is my thing, man.
You're the true expert here, Dorothy.
Not really. But what I do with the zucchini noodles, because I try to do a little lower carb. So you like Tarrant said, you can replace your noodles with just the zucchini noodles or the butternut squash noodles. And I actually can find these in the freezer section at our local grocery store. And they're already spiral cut in a package. And the best thing about them is they're so easy because you can throw the bag in the microwave and zap it for like 6 minutes, and then you have your noodles ready. And what I love is the zucchini I love to use with red sauces, and the butternut squash tends to go really well with like Alfredo sauces and creamier sauces. So just a tip, but for folks who are doing that, but it's really, really good. My kids, I usually make regular noodles for them, but I will sneak some of the zucchini or the butternut squash noodles in there, and they'll eat them up just as much as they'll eat anything else. So, just a quick tip for that, real quick. But sorry. All right, I'm sure I'll jump in again, but you go ahead.
No, please do. Like I said, you're the true expert on this particular slide. And I was going to mention, how you said that you kind of usually make the noodles for your kids and then sneak the others in, and that you buy the frozen. You actually, in the dry section, they have pastas that are made from zucchini and things like that. And some of them are really, really good. That once you cook them, your zucchini noodles that you get out of the frozen, they're definitely green. But you can a lot of times find like whole grain, whole wheat, zucchini slash, whatever noodles. And once you cook them, they don't have that bright green that the, kids are like, what is this green stuff?
Exactly.
Okay. So moving on, to meatless meat. So, and we talked about portobellos last week.
We sure did.
Extremely high in those vitamin D because of the way that mushrooms are grown, because light is essential. And so they're extremely high in vitamin D. And so if you love a good old hamburger, a portobello burger is a great alternative.
Yes.
And these are easy to find, and you can find them, and they come in big, huge portobello cats that look like a big old hamburger. Or you can get the smaller ones that if you want to saute in with, a pasta dish or something, or with spaghetti or anything like that, to have that meaty kind of taste added to it. There's pea protein, whey protein, mycoprotein, soy protein based meats. And they have the same textures as real meat, and you can get everything from sausage to chicken, bacon. I mean, any of those kinds of things. And go ahead, Dorothy, jump in, because I know this is something that.
This is where I obviously do this a lot. I've been vegetarian for about 7-8 years now, and so it's been one of these things where before that I was a super meat eater, so it's been one of those things where sometimes you just crave something and you want to, that's kind of meaty. And I've been really fortunate. I've done a lot of playing around with it, and I'll tell you, just in the past 5 years, really a lot of the alternative meat products have really gotten better in their texture and their flavor and all that stuff. And so, prior to about 5 years ago, a lot of what you would find was mostly soy, and there's concerns with soy and health and stuff like that. But it's still good for you, but there's some issues with with hormones and things like that could get in the way. So the pea protein. Do what?
I'm sorry, I have to. I'm organic is my
yes.
issue with soy. Pesticides. They are heavily pesticides are a heavy presence in soy. But
I appreciate it. But the pea protein, the whey protein, the mycoprotein, which is actually made from mushrooms, those are all, you can find those very easily now in your freezer section or the cold section, over by produce in your grocery store, and they're all really good. One of the things I love to cook, and so one of the things that I like to challenge myself with is to figure out how to make things that I loved that were meat based into something that's vegetarian. And so I've been able to really successfully make a great meatloaf and a really good shepherd's pie with some ground meatless meat. And I like it, and my family will completely clean their plates. I'm actually making the meatloaf tonight. But there's that kind of stuff that you can use and make. And just, I experiment with it and try to find, like, I've made jambalaya before, and red beans and rice using some vegetarian andouille sausage I found. and it was great. It was perfect. So there's so much out there now that's really exciting. So like I said, I could talk about it all day.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is when you're incorporating it into an actual dish, like you said with meatloaf or jambalaya, the textures, like you said, have improved so much that you can't really tell the difference. And once you're adding those spices that make that meatloaf or that make that jambalaya, because a lot of times it is the spices that you're putting in there that add that flavor that you're looking for. You would never know the difference. So this is something I'd like to venture into more, is the meatless meat. So I may be reaching out for technical assistance and recipes and
absolutely. I do have like brands that I favor over others in certain recipes just because of the texture, the way it works in a recipe. Like I have a certain one that I use for my meatloaf versus something else that I use just because of the way it holds together. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to figure that out and kind of play with it and experiment. So, and then we've got just a little touch on what vegan is, because sometimes people get vegan and vegetarian mixed up. So, you want to talk about that for just a second? And
yeah, sure. So the difference between the vegan and the vegetarian: vegan is absolutely no animal product whatsoever. I mean, at all. So cheese, eggs, butter, everything is strictly plant-based. And so, but those, if you're a cheese person or eggs or butter, there's vegan options. And like you said, more and more, like I said, I don't know that I've gone to a grocery store recently that doesn't have a section in the freezer section, a section in the dry section, and a section near the produce that is stocked, and they're all right there together, which makes it easy. So you don't have to kind of peruse through all of the other and try to find the vegan item, which I think is great. There has been some controversy. Why is it all sectioned off? Well, I like the fact that it's sectioned off.
I do too. It's so much easier for me to find. I can just go straight to it.
Yep, it's easier to find. You can go straight to it, and everything they have is right there, And so yeah, they're becoming much more prevalent these days, which I think is great.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to add this in too because of the organic. So many of the vegan products are sustainably produced. Which is another great thing for our planet, and so many are organic. So those are two things I love to see: sustainably produced, organic, and then you've got the health aspect of it. I mean, you can't go wrong with those three things.
Absolutely. So perfect. Okay, so now I will step back from what I know, which is still very little, and now we're going to be talking about what we are saying farewell to, which is, as far as a trend anyway, which is kale. And we're saying hello to kelp.
Yeah, so we're definitely, when we, like you said, buy kale, only as a considered one of the trendy things, because you definitely benefit from eating kale, and there's so many ways to prepare it, and it's definitely still one of those quote unquote superfoods that's full of vitamins and nutrients. And so kale, you're not at the top of the line anymore of being a new trend, but you're still definitely in that list of go-to foods to help boost your immune system and your health. But a new one is kelp, and they call it the new kale, which is kind of the premise of our slide here. But kelp, and so yes, when you think it is seaweed, that is exactly what it is.
And I haven't tried it yet. I'm a little hesitant because all I can think of is a fishy taste, but I've been told that that's not the case. So
that is not the case. I'm sure some products that are just complete, solid, hasn't had anything added to it, kelp, because in some markets and you can find kelp like in the picture, like, just plain kelp. But in your grocery stores, there are products that have been put out that are made with kelp.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have not seen pickles yet, but I have seen jerky.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen seaweed snacks, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like little, like you would think like a little granola bar type
Right.
snack, but it's made with seaweed. And yes, it is dark green. But, they have flavored, and this is a health type food. And so typically they are organic, non-GMO, or organic as you can be with added ingredients. Because kelp coming from, you can't certify something organic that comes from the ocean.
Right.
I won't go into great detail on that, but you can certify organic the products that are added to it.
Right.
That make the particular snack. So I have had seaweed snack bars, and they're just like a crunchy little snack bar, and I can't remember what flavor. I think I just got like cracked black pepper and salt. But it's a crunchy little snack. They're extremely high in antioxidants and calcium. So it is very healthy for you. Again, Dorothy and I are not doctors or medical professionals. So the same with like your dark leafy greens. You need to check with your doctor if you're on blood thinners or anything like that. And anything that comes from such a natural source, which is why the certification of organic is not possible, because it's, the ocean. Do that. There could be other factors that may, maybe something that you would need to look into before adding it to your diet. And so, but yeah, still extremely high in antioxidants and calcium. And so I say, stick around kale, and hello kelp.
There you go. I like it. I like it. And then our final one, and I have tried this before too, is meal delivery kits. And especially now during the pandemic, this is so important and vital, or such an important and vital service for some. It's really interesting. And I've, like I said, I've tried it. I've done it a few times, and it's been really interesting. It's got its pros and its cons. But tell us a little more about it, Tarrant.
Yeah, and that's really why I added this. Although in my research it was popping up, but my thought process on it is just during these particular times with COVID, getting your groceries delivered has become, somewhat of a necessity for some. Or just for those that, this is a super convenience. But for whatever reason, it has become quite popular. And so there are a lot of, and from your local entities, you can get grocery pickup or grocery delivery. And there's a lot of different third-party companies that you can pay that extra fee to have them go pick up your groceries. You just click over, and they can go pick them up. Well, these are a little bit different in that they are complete meals, so to speak. So they come with, and there's a lot of different types. There's a vast variety of types. You can get, completely organic or completely vegan, or I mean, there's so many different options and so many different price ranges. It's just, your personal preference of what you want to do. Time frames, you can get every week, you can get every 2 weeks. There's so many different options with it that's what it makes it so super convenient. Yeah. Again, if it's somewhat of a necessity, makes it a great way to meet your dietary needs. And so, big thing, grocery shopping's done. You don't have to go to the store, you're good to go. Your meal planning is done because you can get them in kits of, so many meals, and you can plan for a week, 2 weeks, whatever you need to do. They include the recipes. So you pick what kind of meals you'd like to have, and they give you the recipe. A lot of them, the meal prep is already included. So everything's already ready to go. You just heat and eat. And then a lot of them, if you like to cook and like to kind of put your ingredients together and you know, get that wooden spoon out and saute and do what you would, normally do, cooking. Some of them, the ingredients are there and everything's pre-measured, but it still gives you that opportunity to actually put everything together and cook your meal yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think these are fantastic. I have not tried any yet. I've looked into them. And of course, with my research for this, I've looked at all the different types, and it's amazing how many of them are out there and how vast the difference, the different kinds there is. So, I mean, pretty much vegetarian, vegan, pescatarian, there's
meat eaters.
Meat eaters. Yes. There's something to fit everybody.
And I've actually tried one. I tried a couple, and I kind of settled on one, and for a while there, and I really did enjoy it. And it kind of introduced me to some things that I normally wouldn't cook or know how to cook, and so it was really good and fun. So it was fun to try it for a little bit. I'm not currently doing it right now. It was really helpful in the lockdown phase of the pandemic, because it was a lot easier when you couldn't really get stuff at the store or go out to get stuff at the store, or the store was out of a lot of things to even have delivered. This was a really good way of being able to know you were going to have a couple of really good meals, nutritious meals for the family for a while, and know you were going to have all the ingredients and they were all pre-measured and stuff like that. So that was really nice. That's what's really nice about it. But yeah, for those folks that maybe are single, they've got options for folks that just, they come already prepared. You just throw them in the oven and there you go. But yeah, they're really interesting. So that was a great one to end on. Thanks, Tarrant. So, but all right, guys. Well, that's about it for us. I know we went over time, but this was just such great information. And like I said, I probably talked way too much, and the technical difficulties at the beginning didn't help. But real quick, we did have one question, and this was going back to the microgreens here. And what do you do for the soil? How do you prepare the soil for the microgreens? Is there anything special you need to do? Is it a pot or a,
Okay, so with the microgreens, what I've seen or what I've experienced the best is a shallow type. You can buy like a long, sorry, I'm lost for words at the moment, a long kind of pan, not pan, you could even use a pan, but you're going to have a little bit of drainage. But these are, when you're growing these, they're very compact. They need to stay moist because they're in the very beginning stages. And so you want a nutrient-rich soil. And if you're a composter, and you make your own soil, that's fantastic. But you can always buy these particular soils at your local gardening center or store. And the biggest thing is, and what I found is the most successful way is to spray bottle mist them on a daily. So because it doesn't take much for those little bitty, transplants to dry out. So if you're an avid gardener and you've grown from transplant before, you're not really going to treat them much different. You're going to keep them moist, and you can use, a tray. That's what I was.
A tray. Okay.
A growing tray, and you actually can buy these trays, and you can buy. They call them mini greenhouses, and you can buy these at your local stores, and they come with a little dome on top because they do need to stay moist. And again, we're talking about 7 to 10 days here, so it's not going to be an overwhelming constant care of these microgreens till it's time for them to harvest. You're talking about a week and a half.
Right. Could you even use like one of those clear plastic egg cartons?
You could.
Yeah.
You could.
So,
you sure
I
could.
was thinking because I've just about used one up. So instead of recycling it, I'll just recycle it that way.
Like a mini greenhouse. And again, the thing is that you're concentrating a lot of seeds in one space. And if you saw the I don't know if you want to bring back up the slide just to kind of show the reference. If you notice, you would never plant tomato seeds or bell pepper seeds or anything like that close together. But for microgreens, you do. So, you pack the seeds in there, and it doesn't hurt them because they don't crowd them. It doesn't crowd them out to the point to where they're not going to become healthy, mature transplants, because that's not what you're focusing on. You're focusing on just getting that, that first set, a couple of leaves. Once you get that second set of leaves, then you're good to go to trim those off and sprinkle them on salads, or
perfect,
like to do with them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And Tarrant, thanks again for joining us. And next time, February 8th, we're going to be talking about preparing your spring garden. So we're getting ready, folks, to get that big garden started. So and really excited about that.
Yeah, and we're not thinking necessarily, it's just, especially in the northern part of our state, they're just now getting snow and things like that, and that's going to go on through March. But March, April, that's ideal time for the most part to get those. Of course, after your last frost is when you're going to get those in. But go ahead and start your transplants now. And if you've got a 4-inch transplant down here in the South that's ready to go in, but you've got one that's a little bit bigger, up north, because it took a little longer before you got past that frost, it's not going to hurt. But you definitely want to have them ready, because after that last frost, you got to have those plants ready. If you're going to grow from seed,
awesome.
You definitely want to have those ready. So that's what we're going to talk about next week, is getting our spring plants ready to go. And I'm sure ready for some fresh tomatoes.
Me too. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tarrant. I really appreciate it. And before we go, I wanted to mention 2 things that are happening tomorrow. It's going to be our first mindful movement. This is going to be on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And it's going to be alternating Jerry Haslam and Becca Impello to just kind of take a break and stretch and breathe and move. And so please join us for that tomorrow at 10. It's going to be live on Facebook and YouTube. And then tomorrow night, we've got a really important telephone town hall that is about talking with the Alabama Department of Public Health on the COVID vaccine distribution. And they're going to be there to answer your questions. So please take a moment to call in and listen. It'll also be broadcast on our Facebook page as well. But that will be a chance for you to actually call in and ask your questions. There will be screeners who will actually be taking your questions and making sure that, we try to get to all the questions. And again, for another thing that we've got going on this afternoon is the beginning of a new series, a estate planning series. So that's going to be today at 4 p.m. So be sure to join us for the estate planning series today at 4. And with that, we are going to show a real quick video of our upcoming events. And and we will see you again on February 8th, starting your spring garden. So get ready, folks. Thanks so much.